to Hotspot Online Television. I'm your host, Aisha Betty Rogers. With international news summary, please follow, like, share, comment, and subscribe. U.S. generals involved in European plan to send 10,000 troops to Ukraine, WSJ. The scheme is a part of security guarantees for Kyiv advocated by Paris and London that includes a massive troop deployment to Ukraine. The scheme, drawn up primarily by European army chiefs, includes two groups of forces that are to be sent to Ukraine, according to the reports. 11 suspects have been arrested in connection with newly uncovered mass graves in Kilifi County, where investigators have so far exhumed 34 bodies, Kenya police said on Wednesday. Officials said the discovery points to the resurgence of the cult linked to the Shakahola tragedy in 2023. Local police chief Douglas Kaja stated that 4 of those detained are considered central to the ongoing investigation. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjarto has accused the EU of hypocrisy over Russian oil, saying many members criticize Hungary for its imports while quietly buying the crude source through intermediaries. Russia received $1.3 billion in fuel sales from the EU over the past year. Szijjarto said Hungary, being landlocked, relies on pipelines for oil and gas, and Russian deliveries remain essential for its supply security. At least 16 people, including 4 health workers, have died in a new outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DR Congo. Authorities in the Central African country have announced so far 28 suspected cases have been reported in Kasai province, and laboratory tests have confirmed the Zaire strain of the disease, the Congolese Health Ministry said in a statement on Thursday. U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to rename the Pentagon as the Department of War has unleashed a wave of condemnation from activists, journalists, and commentators worldwide, with many saying the move lays bare Washington's addiction to endless wars and militarism. Trump signed an executive order on Friday directing the Department of Defense to be once again known as the Department of War, restoring the name it last held in the 1940s. Iran has reported a significant rise in exports to Africa amid efforts by the country to diversify its export markets and to reduce its dependence on direct oil exports. The Iran Chamber of Commerce, Industries, Mines and Agriculture (ICCIMA) said in a Saturday report that exports from the country to Africa had increased by 2.2 times in the 4 calendar months to late July compared to the same period last year. India will continue to buy Russian oil as it proves economical, its finance minister said on Friday, despite the Trump administration decision to impose heavy import tariffs on Indian goods due, in part, to its energy purchases from Moscow, as Europe and the US have shunned Russian oil over Moscow's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. India has taken advantage of discounts on Russian output to become the largest buyer of Russian seaborne crude. South African sex workers and rights advocates have filed a lawsuit demanding the repeal of laws that criminalized prostitution, in a case that could change the legal status of the industry in the country for the first time in decades. The suit, brought by non-profit group Sex Workers Education and Advocacy Task Force (SWET) and an individual applicant identified as SH, challenges the constitutionality of the 1957 Sexual Offences Act. Western businesses are welcome to return to Russia if they have not supported the Ukrainian army and have met all obligations to their employees and the state, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said in an interview with TASS on the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok released on Saturday. Peskov outlined Moscow's approach to foreign companies that left the Russian market after the escalation of the Ukraine conflict in 2022. United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has rejected the latest United States sanctions on 3 prominent Palestinian rights groups for their role in supporting the International Criminal Court's (ICC) efforts to prosecute Israeli leaders as completely unacceptable, calling for them to be withdrawn. For decades now, these NGOs has been performing vital human rights work, particularly on accountability for human rights violations. That is all the more important when international humanitarian and human rights laws are being violated systematically in Gaza and the West Bank, including East al-Quds, he said on Friday.